So apparently I accidentally told this kid's dad that his kid sucks at everything he does. Anyways, I'm Mike.
I'm Jim.
And this is Fanboy and the Hater.
Podcast about the best and worst in movies, TV, and pop culture.
Jim, why are you Orko?
I know who Orko is. I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
Well, considering he failed at every magic attempt he ever did and clumsily made the wrong thing happen, I think it's fitting.
So he's a hero.
Yeah? I mean, when it really came down to it, he'd pull through.
So why wasn't he in the movie more?
Exactly. That actually really bothered me.
What are we talking about today, Mike?
We are talking about Masters of the Universe. Yeah, kind of. This movie just came out. We went and saw it on opening day, and I went into it with very low expectations. I was expecting / hoping for something dumb but kind of fun like Guardians of the Galaxy. And what I got out of it was something dumb but really dumb like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I believe the very first thing I said was, this wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it was competitive. I will have a lot more to say. I will let you go ahead and give us your opening thoughts.
Yeah, I almost skipped this movie because I do not have, and I'm sure you'll get into it, I do not have as much affinity with the source material, but I do remember as a kid the original He-Man cartoon, and I did have He-Man toys, which of course I had those before the cartoon. The toys came first, then the cartoon came out to sell us the toys, I think. Because I remember, even though I did not have a deep affinity for the source material, I remember having He-Man toys as a kid. I remember seeing the He-Man cartoon as a kid. Our age difference probably plays into that, because this was like in the early 80s, so I would have been like 12 or something around the time that the He-Man cartoon was on. So I remember seeing it, but I was a little bit too old to really be into it.
You were right. The toys hit the stores in 1982, and the shows hit in 83 to sell the toys.
Because that was one of the things I remembered is like, because I remember I got spoiled as a child because I was the first nephew and the first grandson in the family. So I got a lot of toys and stuff. So I remember getting He-Man toys and being like, what the fuck are these? It's like, I don't know what this is. It's like, they're toys. And then the cartoon came out and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know if I knew then, but it's like I was confused when I first received the toys, but then later saw the cartoon. And then later, I'm not sure when it came out, but there was a bad there was a live action movie starring Dolph Lundgren that I saw. And
I think that was in 87.
I remember enjoying that for what it was. It wasn't a good movie, but it was enjoyable enough. And that is basically the extent of my connection with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So for more than 35 years, I have had no connection whatsoever. I know that there has been other content that has come out, other like animated series and stuff, but for 35 years, I have had no interactions with the franchise or the source material.
I was a fan of it as a child. I mean, so again, the cartoon came out in 83. I was born in 82.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was little when it was out. I know I watched it a lot. I know I liked it. There's things that I remember about it, but I couldn't tell you what the story was other than, hey, skeleton skull face guy's a bad guy and is very, very menacing. And the big muscly dude that only does good things, he's the good guy. That's all I really knew. I was correct, 87. Holy crap, how'd that pull that off?
So you were the right age.
So
I mean,
perfect age for it. And I had the toys as well, but I didn't have a lot of the toys. I was not spoiled. My mom spoiled the crap out of me as best she could, but I only had a He-Man and a Skeletor, and that was it.
That's it?
That's it.
I had the Castle Grayskull.
I did not, because I was very young, and I went into Ninja Turtles, and that's what I had a whole bunch of was Ninja Turtles.
That makes sense.
So that's all I had, and I remember, and I still played with the He-Man toys with the Ninja Turtles because Skeletor was a very good bad guy, and I somehow figured out I could rip the arms off of Skeletor, so any fight ended with him losing his arms. I will, just to throw it out there to embarrass her, my cousin always brings up and remembers me running around. I think she said I would run around in my underwear as a small child, just yelling with whatever I had that could be a sword, just yelling, By the power of Grayskull, I have the power! So I was very much a He-Man kid, but again, that was kind of pre-memory. So I don't remember a lot of it. I remember bits and pieces. I remember when the Dolph Lundgren movie came out, and being a He-Man kid, I was super excited for it. We didn't go to movies as a kid, so I didn't see it when it came out in the theater. I was excited for like another year after it came out until it was finally on TV and I was able to watch it. And so that would have put me at like 6 years old when I finally got to watch it.
Oh, wow.
And I remember seeing the movie and just thinking, wow, that was dog shit. Like, that was one of the worst things. Like, how is that even He-Man? Like, that's not even anything. And that, I think, was when I just stopped He-Man altogether, because that would have been about the same time I went to Ninja Turtles.
I think I actually saw that movie in the theaters.
That doesn't surprise me.
Because I was 16 when it came out.
But recently, I've had a curiosity again, because Kevin Smith restarted the franchise. I believe he was producing it, I believe. And it picks up where the original cartoon left off. So, similar to kind of Star Wars Legends novels and everything, the Masters of the Universe lore has built immensely. Apparently there was in 2002-ish, there was a He-Man cartoon that kind of dove more into what the lore actually was. This movie hinted at some of the lore, but never actually went into it. That really bothered me a lot. Because how do you possibly make a He-Man movie for today's audience without going into the lore if you want to build any kind of franchise? So this can't be building a franchise, basically. They kind of set it up for a sequel. If they were going to set up for a franchise, they had all the opportunity to do that and did not.
See, for me, which is one of the reasons why I had probably a different experience with the movie, I know nothing about the lore. Maybe when I was a kid, I might have remembered some of it. But even when I saw the Dolph Lundgren movie, I recognized the characters, but I didn't really know much about the lore. So there were very few characters in the movie that I even knew. Like I knew He-Man, Skeletor, and Evil Lyn, and I knew Battle Cat. I think I also knew Teela and Man at Arms?
Man at Arms.
Man at Arms. I knew those, but recognizing the character name, that's about it. So everything else that was happening in the movie wouldn't have meant anything to me. So that opening part of the movie, when Adam is on a date and he's explaining the story of Eternia to that woman, that's not the lore?
I mean, it dips into it, but I mean, he talks about like there being champions when needed and stuff. And there's in the lore, they're like, there's been a lot of champions. An example of it is when he was getting the sword in that nerd shop. And it had, I think it was, I suck at names, like Grok or something like that was the character that was holding the sword. That was the first He-Man in the lore.
Oh.
So there's all kinds of stuff about that. And again, I only really know a lot of that because of the Kevin Smith stuff that I watched. I didn't remember any of that from the original show, but I did remember the characters because that's how I work. So I recognize all the characters. I'm like, there's some of them like, why Fisto instead of this other guy whose name I don't remember, but like was much more prominent? Oh, because I wanted to make all the fisting jokes. That's why he was in it.
Not to take a tangent, but did you like the Kevin Smith show?
Yeah. I mean, it's not fantastic, but it's good. It dives into the lore. It could have been longer, I think. I think they announced it and they made it and they had to like turn it around quick enough, I think. No problem with it. That's not what we're here to talk about, but I liked it. I think it's good, and it makes it more interesting because it is about the lore. Okay. Like I said, there's a huge fandom for it. I'm not part of it, but there is a huge fandom for Masters of the Universe and the lore that's there.
Okay.
With that, it kind of brings me to the question that we immediately went to when we left the theater is, who was this movie for?
Yes. Because like I just said, if it was for people who were deep into the lore of the Masters of the Universe, I wouldn't fall into that camp because I have the most superficial knowledge of it. So I was just trying to enjoy it as a movie, but I had a hard time understanding who it was intended for because the tone of the movie seemed to shift so many times. Like there were times when it like was trying to be serious, and then there was times when it just became silly. Then there were times when it became sentimental. Then there were times when it became cartoonish. Then there were times when it became like it was a parody of itself. It's like, pick a lane. What are you trying to do? And that came back to us like, are they trying to like cast a giant net to catch everybody? Who do you think this movie was for?
So I think after a lot of thought on it, I think I figured it out.
Okay.
So my initial was like, okay, they made it for kids. And it was very childish at parts. And there's a lot of parts of it that's like, okay, yeah, it's very, very cartoony, like you said, for kids. And then immediately after, there's a very obvious dick joke of some kind, some sort of adult humor. And not like in a feigned way where like, oh, kids might not get it. Like it was very obvious.
That was the thing that was jarring to me, because there is often in stuff that's geared towards children, there is humor for the adults that have to bring the kids to see the thing. But usually it's a joke that the adults will quietly laugh at that will go right over the kids' heads.
Yeah.
That was not the type of adult humor that was in this movie.
Absolutely not. So I think what they were trying to target, well, I guess my next thought was like, okay, were they trying to make this, to your point, were they trying to make this for the fans? And again, kind of going back to what I was saying too, I don't think so, because if they were, they would have gone into the lore more. And they wouldn't have made it so, we'll get into it more later, so mocking of the show. So much mocking of it that I felt like they were doing. So my final thought was, they made this for the people more my age and your age that watched the show, but weren't really fans of it at all, in order to take a quick nostalgia ride and bring their kids to it. I think they had to do it that way. The more I think about it, I think they had to do that, because if they just targeted kids, no kids today give a shit. No kids today want to go see He-Man. It sounds stupid. It looks stupid. Why would they go after it? It has to be, I took my kids to it because I wanted to see it. And the kids are my excuse to go see it.
Because it's a weird franchise in that sense. You mentioned the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was around, in my mind at least, around the same time. But there have been lots of Turtle stuff between the 80s and now. Not all of it's been good. Some of it's been animated, some of it's been live action, but it's like kind of like stayed maybe on the periphery of the cultural conversation around nerdy things.
Yeah.
Other than that Kevin Smith show that you mentioned, I don't even remember hearing much about He-Man for decades.
Yeah. Well,
like it just hasn't been like, it was like kids today was like, who the hell's He-Man? What the hell's the Masters of the Universe? It's like there hasn't been like a, not to go off on a tangent, I'm sorry, but they keep remaking the Turtles animated series for like a new generation of fans. I don't think they really ever did that with He-Man.
They did
so
not.
Like went away.
There's been a couple of attempts, kind of, but I think it's just been stuck in development hell. Because they don't know who to make it for or how to make it. Because the original show was so of its time and childish that I think they struggle. Like, what do we do with this for today's audience? For today's kids? I don't know that I could make that better. I could have made this movie better, but I don't know that I could make the cartoon better. And that's where I think Kevin Smith did do a good job, is it's made where a kid could enjoy it, but it's made for the core audience of people that are in their 40s that love it and that have been into it for their whole lives.
Now, this is a horrible comparison, in part because neither one of us saw it. The Mandalorian and Grogu, which came out a little over a month before this movie came out, was successfully marketed to kids because Grogu, Baby Yoda, was a recognizable toy. And kids wanted to go see that movie. Even if they knew nothing about Star Wars, they wanted to see that puppet.
Oh, the puppetry.
Oh, the puppetry. There was nothing like that for this. It wasn't like there was a toy that kids were already playing with or something that kids could recognize. Like you made the Orko joke. Yes. There wasn't even something like that. So it was like, there was no hook. So I think kids in other franchises like Mandalorian and Grogu, although there was also adults who wanted their kids to see it, kids were pushing adults to take them to that.
Yeah.
I don't think kids know, again, going back.
That's what I'm saying. Kids were drugged to this.
Exactly. They were forced to go to this. So again, like I said, it's still very confusing from seeing this. Like, it just seemed to switch so many times. It's like, who is the intended audience for this movie?
As we transition, we mentioned tone to it, and I want to dive more into that. But you just mentioned dragging kids to the movie, and this is a great example of my thoughts on the movie.
Okay.
Is the theater we went to had a bunch of kids.
Yes.
And if anybody knows about me in movie theaters, I loathe distractions. I will not sit next to Jim if he has candy. And if anybody even whispers during the movie, like, I'm livid. We were sitting next to a family with multiple kids, and a lot of those kids kept talking through the movie, and I did not give a shit. It did not bother me the least bit because I cared that little. At one point, I saw one of the kids was like staring at me with like wide-eyed fear. And I realized because I was scowling so hard during this movie. And I'm like, oh, I am scary to kids right now because of the look on my face during this movie. 60% of this movie is a joke and has jokes in it.
There's a big difference between
And I
those
didn't
two
smile
things.
once.
There's a big difference between those two things.
Yes.
I literally put my hand over my mouth multiple times to prevent myself from laughing out loud. Not because something on the screen was funny, but because something on the screen was either the scene was so bad or a line of dialogue was so bad, I almost burst out laughing. And I didn't want to ruin your experience of the movie.
I do appreciate that.
But I had to do that multiple times.
Yes. As I said, there's jokes everywhere.
Mhm.
And I've heard a lot of people talking about there's too many jokes. I don't think there was too many jokes. It's just that the jokes weren't good. And they were ill-timed. There was so much of this movie, and kind of transferring into tone. Like you said, it was all over the place.
Mhm.
There were significant parts where Skeletor, the big bad guy, the guy that everybody fears, everybody's scared, nobody wants to go anywhere near because he's so scary. And he would have this big epic moment. And then the dumbest joke possible. And even though it was a dumb joke, just to pepper it on a little bit more, they would hold it until it was so flat that it was painfully bad.
Mm-hmm.
On purpose. The fuck, dude?
Yeah, I couldn't even finish this sentence without laughing while we were waiting for the movie to start. I turned to Mike and I said, I bet Jared Leto is going to give a very subtle performance.
You know what? That's every time I see Jared Leto in anything, it's almost good and then it's ruined. And yet again, like one of the things, I don't even remember what it was. It was like an end scene. He's hyping up his army to go do a thing. And he's like, yes, and go to battle or whatever it was. And he raises his arm up and then everybody just kind of sits there and he's like, when I put my arm up like this, that means I'm done. You guys are supposed to go now. Dude, what the fuck, man? And people laughed at it though. People in the theater legitimately laughed at it. Maybe there was a laugh track in there somewhere. I don't fucking get it.
I am often confused as the old man. I am often confused at the movie theater experience. But there were many times during the movie where the audience was laughing, and I was genuinely puzzled. Were they laughing because they were enjoying the movie, or were they laughing at how bad the movie was? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
The tone was the thing that was constantly confusing me, because the early sequence where we see Skeletor attack Castle Grayskull and Adam has to go run away through the portal to Earth. For the most part, it's a very serious, dramatic scene. When Evil Lynn walks in from the side after they basically secured Castle Grayskull and talks to Skeletor for the first time, I almost lost it laughing because I did not know anything about who was in the movie other than I knew Jared Leto was going to be Skeletor. Seeing and hearing Alison Brie speak, I don't even remember the specific lines, but it felt like she had just walked in to a completely different movie.
Mm-hmm.
Her lines and her line delivery were like cartoonish and almost like she was making fun of the scene that she just walked into. And that was one of the moments where I almost broke out laughing. I was like, whoa, what is the tone that this movie is trying to strike? And one of the things I had said before we started recording, the only way I could make sense of this in my mind is that the director must have said, not every scene, but I imagined in many scenes, the director's like, let's do multiple cuts. Let's do a really serious cut, guys. Let's take the tone down a little bit. Let's be a little bit lighter, be a little sillier. Hey, let's go full cartoonish this time. And they just did that. And then in the editing process, they like picked and choose different things and put them together. And it did not make sense.
Yeah. I think I mean, again, the jokes ruined any of the good moments.
Hmm.
I mean, every single good moment, anything that was emotionally impactful, anything that was legitimately frightening, anything that had any solid beat to it was ruined by a terrible joke. I can't tell. I don't know if the writers were writing to mock the cartoon or if the actors were mocking the cartoons or if the actors were mocking the writers.
That's what I was struggling with while I was watching this. Like, is it the only way I could make it make sense in my mind was multiple takes, trying different things,
Yeah.
and hopefully not people actively working against it. But or again, maybe there was just a general lack of direction, and some people thought they were in a parody. Some people thought they were. We saw this early on in the early days of the superhero films coming to screen. That some actors, when they appeared in their very first superhero movie, they were good actors, but they didn't understand how to act in a superhero thing,
Hmm.
and they tended towards being very cartoonish.
Yeah.
And some of the actors in this were like that, but we've had so many superhero movies now that that
Yeah.
really can't be an excuse. But I don't understand. Like you said, there were scenes where it just seemed like the actors in the scenes were either in different movies or being directed by different directors.
Yeah. I will say, and I really specifically want to call this out. We'll get to some of the positives here in a little bit. Camila Mendez, I hope I said her name right, that played Tila,
Hmm.
fan fucking tastic. If I ever watch this movie again, it is just for her and her portrayal of Tila. Fantastic. The only one that took the movie seriously, it felt like, throughout the whole movie, consistently even. Did great. Try to argue. You can't.
No, I would agree. She was probably the most consistently portrayed character. She never broke from this, and she committed to delivering dialogue seriously, regardless of the
Hmm.
scene. But I can't help but shake from my mind one of the early things is when they're in the ship, when she's flying Adam back to Eternia, and she's trying to describe to Adam how bad things are. And Adam's like, why would Skeletor do this? And she very seriously says, because he is bad and he has a skeleton for a face. Deadpan delivery. And I almost lost it laughing at just how stupid that line of dialogue was. But she delivered it seriously.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, the writing was terrible,
Yes.
but she delivered it well, really well. Like, she
Mhm.
did fantastic. Everybody else, though, like you said, is just so inconsistent. Like, sometimes they're in a cartoon, sometimes they're in a serious movie, sometimes they don't know what they're in. They're just told to say this line. They say the line. It almost seems like they're just reading it out off cue cards.
Could this have been? I mean, we'll probably get into some of your ideas about this, but if they had picked a lane, like there were some things that were serious and dramatic, there were also some things that were sentimental, some
Hmm.
like father daughter and father son sentimental moments.
Yeah.
If they had leaned more into taking this seriously and did more of the serious and sentimental stuff alongside, because there was also a lot of action in this movie as well.
Yeah.
So if they had stayed there and stayed away from the jokes and stayed away from the cartoonish turns, would it have been a better movie, or could that have been?
I,
Was that the problem?
yeah. I think so. I'm going to kind of blend what I thought were positives to this movie with how it could have been a good movie.
Okay.
Starting off the positives, visually looks spectacular. I was explaining to somebody that asked me how the movie was. I was like, to me, it's kind of like Avatar, where the story, the movie itself, bland, crappy, don't bother with it. But the visuals of it, fantastic. I cannot imagine the visuals being better. They did a lot of practical effects with very cartoony characters, and it works. They look almost real. Fantastic. I cannot overstate how good the visuals are. I even told somebody, like, if you just like visuals in movies, go see it because it
Mm-hmm.
is good. If you turn your brain off to it,
Mm-hmm.
even it can be enjoyable. And I think that a lot of the positive reviews this is getting, people are just shutting their brain off. They're not trying to make it a good movie. They're just, oh, hey, a bunch of jokes. Yeah, I remember the 80s cartoons. Those were stupid. That could be enjoyable that way. The acting overall, as we were just kind of saying, was pretty good for a terrible script. Even the actors that didn't do a great job still did a pretty good job for what they were given. The pure idiocy of the lines they had to deliver, they did a pretty good job. They all stayed in character pretty well for the most part. They said their jokes, they said their lines.
I would agree. I think the ones that I found most jarring were the adult jokes. Like
Yeah.
if the weird stuff that was still more cartoonish or parody stuff, it's like when like the fisting a goblin, like the number of fisting jokes that went on
Right.
way too long. And talking about like we had said earlier, that's not a. I mean, I could imagine parents being asked after this movie, "Mommy, what is fisting?"
Yeah. Well, and I thought about that, like, as we were leaving, like, I got in my car and was thinking way too much about all of this.
Mhm.
And as I was leaving, I was like, that's a script that I would have written at 12 years old, because that is the level of the jokes.
Mhm.
Hey, give him head, man.
Mhm.
Come on. So the acting was good for the terrible script, I thought. And then the final, well, the music was good, I guess, as well. I mean, sometimes obvious, sometimes somewhat misplaced, but overall good music.
Mhm.
The fight scenes were great.
Yeah,
And
most
they
of the fight
better be.
choreography was very good.
Yeah, they kind of have to be. And even the use of slow motion and everything in it, I thought was good. No complaints about the fight scenes. Those were all good. The problems were the tone, the writing, and kind of the overall story. They spent way too much time on Earth. How could it have been better? I think, and a lot of people are pointing to, there shouldn't have been as many jokes. I disagree. There could have been just as many jokes, like they did in Mortal Kombat. Only certain characters get to tell jokes. Why the fuck wasn't Orko in this? Orko was in the cartoon because he was the comedy relief.
That would make sense.
Orko should have been in this
Mhm.
as the comic relief. And maybe one of the other characters is kind of a smart aleck.
Yeah, like a good example of a bad, unnecessary joke that's also geared more to adults is when Cringer doesn't want to be a battle cat and doesn't want to go into the fight. Taylor just looks at them and goes, "Pussy." Again,
Right.
deadpan delivery, but it's like unnecessary.
Oh, he's not a pussy cat.
Yeah, and then that's what Adam comes back with is like, that joke just did not need to be there.
Right, exactly.
And that's really what I said is like why the tone was broken. It's like that's why I said if you took the jokes out, those jokes, there were other jokes, but there were just jokes like that. It was like that was just unnecessary.
But that's what I mean. There could have been jokes,
Oh right.
just not those jokes. Like you
Correct.
don't have to go. Oh, and this is coming from me,
Mm-hmm.
who loves Kevin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always have to be a dick or fart joke. The other thing is let the villains be scary. That was one of the problems. Is anytime Skeletor was scary, they leveled it off, made him a joke.
Yes.
Anytime Evil Lyn started to be scary, they leveled it off, made it a joke. Beastman, kind of a joke already. Which, by the way, how good did Beastman look?
He looked very good.
Seriously.
Yeah, good CGI, good effects.
Like, there's so much. Like, it was right on the verge of being good, and then they just had to ruin the whole thing. So let the villains be scary. Let the jokes be there, said by certain people in a certain context. Let He-Man be a good guy. He-Man in this movie was almost purely selfish. He was just trying to save his parents and get back to his life. He never really got to be a hero. What makes a hero? Self-sacrifice to save innocent people. Where does he ever save innocent people from a villain? He doesn't.
He doesn't. I mean, you could almost forgive the fact that he has a childish view of Eternia because he left Eternia when he was 10, and he has a very childish recollection of the heroes of Eternia. So he was never a hero. And then we just meet him 15 years later, and he goes back and gets the powers when he uses the sword. But yeah, he never really acts like a hero, nor, and the movie also showed, he never learned how to be a hero. Because he was, in part, not doing well in combat training because he was making a joke of it. He wasn't taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And then, poof, he goes to Earth. So yeah, his attempt at being heroic was to use his HR training to his HR conflict resolution training.
Don't even get me started on
Yeah,
that
but
shit.
so it's like, just to go back to your point, it's like if they could have taken the jokes that were unnecessary out of it and then let the characters be more consistent And on the Skeletor thing, it's like you said, it was uneven because there were some times where Skeletor was genuinely terrifying. And like you said,
Mhm.
they almost immediately deflate that with just silly slapstick, not even cartoonish, just like dumb bits.
Yeah.
It's like this, if you just took that out and left the terrifying part, it would have been more, it would have worked, I think, a bit
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm gonna hit on one thing real quick. Said I didn't want to get into it, but I'm gonna say it real quick.
Okay.
All those HR scenes to me, just like they were meant to be funny. They were not funny, and they were not funny because it just felt like Hollywood pandering to the working class because they knew those were going to be the ones watching the movie.
There was a weird, and I don't want to go down this road. I'm not a huge fan of woke.
Mhm.
I'm a fan of the spirit of woke, of
Right.
what it meant. I don't like how woke has been weaponized by either the left or the right. In those scenes, I couldn't tell if they were making fun of woke, saying woke was good, but either way, none of it worked.
Right.
It wasn't funny, and it was not necessary to the story. It's like, why the fuck did we have to see Adam have a job that did nothing for the story?
Which then also leads to how this could have been better. Don't leave Eternia. There's no reason for him to be on Earth.
Mhm.
We don't need to connect to the character as a normal human being. He's not a fucking normal human being. He's a prince that turns into a superhero. Which then leads me to the other problem of this movie that could have been better.
Okay.
Prince Adam and He-Man are not the same character. And in this movie, they are. There's zero difference except for He-Man has slightly larger muscles than Adam, which they only show during the transformation when it is very obvious that Adam in his regular clothing is a giant dude.
Yeah, they put him in like
They have him
bulky clothes to try to hide the fact that he's like super jacked.
and they have him like hunch over like he's going to be smaller or something.
Or ask Dolph Lundgren how to use a barbell,
Right.
as if that dude is not super jacked because he's been spending the last 15 years doing nothing but exercise. Like the thing,
Which shows that you've never been to a gym.
dumbbells,
Those are dumbbells.
not barbells.
Not barbells.
I'm dumb when it comes to dumbbells. But to your point, he should have never gone to Earth because I was immediately thinking, like, who took care of him for 15 years? He
Right.
must have gone into the foster system or child services. How did he grow up?
Well, that was when this movie was first like announced or whatever, the trailers came out and they showed him on Earth. I'm like, didn't they already fucking make this movie and it sucked and that's what ruined He-Man? Like, why would they do that again?
Well, at least in the Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie, they went to Earth from Eternia for a different reason. He didn't get like
I don't even remember anything
sent
about
to
it.
there. Well, someone like I had seen online,
Other than they basically made Snarf instead of Orko. I don't know.
someone had made the joke online that it seemed like they were trying to do the first Thor movie and Thor Ragnarok at the same
Yeah.
time. Because like the send the prince
Ragnarok or Love and Thunder.
or Love and Thunder. But I mean, the idea of send the prince to Earth, which is the first Thor movie,
Mhm.
MCU movie, and then Ragnarok was and Love and Thunder were the really comedic
Yeah.
Thor. So the really serious Thor, and then the really comedic Thor, but also the send the prince to Earth. But again, it didn't add anything to the story. Why? Yeah, he should have just stayed on Eternia.
So going back to what I was saying about the differences, like Prince Adam, in the movie, Adam was portrayed as being like super naive and clumsy and dumb and all that stuff.
Mhm.
In the show, the way I remember it, Adam acted that way to push off any suspicion that he might be He-Man. People
Right.
didn't know he was He-Man.
Exactly.
They joke about that in this
At the
movie.
end. They make
Yeah.
a joke about it. But yeah, I remember that
Yep.
from the cartoon that people didn't know that Prince Adam was
Yep.
He-Man.
And they would like show like every once in a while like he would be serious, and then people would come up with like, oh, I better act goofy again.
Mm-hmm.
And He-Man was a completely separate character, almost like Bruce Banner and Hulk, where like he's not Banner anymore. Now he's Hulk. And it was the same thing. He's not Prince Adam anymore. Now he's He-Man. Different personality, different thought process, different everything, different character.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a better movie by playing on that. The only people that four people in the cartoon actually knew he was He-Man. It was Sorceress, Man at Arms. I think She-Ra knew. I don't remember. And I
Did
mean
Tayla?
Battle Cat.
I don't know if Taylor, Battle Cat obviously knew.
Yeah, I don't think Tila knew.
I don't think she did. No.
It could have played that. And my last thing about making it better is the lore. I mentioned it earlier. The lore is there. The lore is fantastic. It's a really good story. They could have used the sorceress more and dove into the lore.
They only used her briefly for a little tropey thing that, the power was inside you all along. It's not the sword thing, which I have no idea. Is that lore? Is the sword really the source of the power, or?
Yes, it is. There's also a bit of like the sword is actually two swords. So I don't know if you remember or not, but Skeletor had a sword as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the sword of power was actually those two swords combined.
Oh.
So that's, there's so much. Again, there's a lot of lore to it. Depends on where you go and look, and I'm sure as well. But I mean, to me, like the opening, like again, they didn't need to go to Earth.
Now, was this part of the lore? When they were sending him to Earth, his mother told the sorceress, "Send her to my home."
Oh,
so was his mother always from Earth?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that. Again, I'm not huge into the universe. I just know bits and pieces. And when she said that, I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Like, not that this would have been better, but maybe if the sorceress, like, also went to Earth and, like, transformed into his foster mom or something, it wouldn't have made the movie better. But it's like,
Again, they didn't need to go to Earth. They went to Earth to set up the story of, like, how he goes from a kid to an adult, which they didn't have to do. And also so that he can kind of tell the story of this is what's happening. Very easily, the opening could have been the sorceress showing flashes of when He-Man has been used throughout the ages, and just kind of giving a little bit of a narrative of here's the fight that's currently going on and where we're at right now. Okay, child Adam gets the sword, doesn't know how to use it, goes into hiding with the rest of the group. They show a few flashes of kind of some of the fights between, and them losing some of those fights between Skeletor's forces and Eternia's forces, whatever Tila's forces, because she's actually like the commander at that point. Flashes of that. Then they can actually jump to the story of, oh, hey, now they're starting to figure out where we're at. We're losing. We need you. We're about to die. Sorcerer steps back in, tells him what he needs to say. He gets the power.
What about another lore-related question? Man-at-Arms. Like, I'm a big fan of Idris Elba. So was his depiction of Man-at-Arms lore accurate?
As far as I know, everything but the drunken stupidity.
Okay.
Again, I think he did a great job with what he had.
Well,
and again, going back to the jokes, K2SO could have been fantastic and been one of the jokey ones. Keep K2SO on there.
That's basically who, in my mind, is who I thought, was it Roboto?
So that's what it looks like.
Robotico or whatever. I thought K2SO from Rogue One and from the Andor series, because it was pretty much a similar type of thing. It's basically a robot sidekick, and it was
not allowed to fight.
Who's not allowed to fight. So and was used for some minor comedic effect. And then dramatic effect later. But and then they did the whole thing in terms of, even with Man-at-Arms, with the serious, then drunken silliness, but then like sentimental moments, like, you're a better man than I am, when he tells his daughter, you're a better man than I am, and she's like, thank you.
So I think what should have happened, like I said, the story, as I was saying, I think in front of him, Skeletor should have killed his parents, and then that's when, in a very angry, gritty way, he says, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power! So he belts that out in a very angry way. He turns into He-Man. That starts the initial fight. Okay, now they got to run. Skeletor and the Force got to run. They got to regroup. And then that kind of starts off the movie. It doesn't have to be, what is this, like a 2.5 hour movie?
A little over 2 hours, I think.
It could have been an 1.5 hour movie that sets up a bunch of stuff later.
It also, I mean, because I have no idea if this is lore accurate, I'm just doing general storytelling. It would have also been interesting and maybe realistic, again, not knowing the lore, for Adam to abuse the power. After getting it. Again, like you said, he's not playing a different character. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he kind of, like, in the movie, accidentally kill his father? Because doesn't he, like, make the roof collapse? So it's kind of his fault? Which I guess is kind of why he reverts back to Adam, because he fails because of it? I'm not sure. But it would have been...
I'm not sure either.
It would have been more motivational for his parents for at least one of his parents to be dead or for Skeletor to kill. Again, it would have been a different movie and taken a more serious or darker tone. And then you could have had a darker, abusive power Adam, which might have been interesting. But it seemed like the axis that the movie was revolving around, to your early point, was it was mainly for kids. So we always had to come back to like a Saturday morning cartoon. What's the moral of the story and the lesson that we want to teach?
Yeah.
Type of thing.
But again, they still could have done that.
Oh, yeah.
And they could have done that by making the good guys stay good guys, be pure, be good, be protective. They are the shield. They're not attacking, they're defending. And make the bad guys scary and evil.
Because like you had said, there were scenes in which they were that.
Yes.
But then they went and did a bunch of the comedic stuff that undid that.
Yeah. To your point about like Allison Brie and the way she was delivering lines too, like I feel like she wanted to be in what the movie should have been and was frustrated. And you could almost hear that frustration in her voice as she went from good line to stupid line.
Yes.
Like her tone changed even in a lot of that. She had, like, I loved when she and Tila were fighting and she just had that grin on her face the whole time.
Yes.
That was fantastic. And then stupid line, it's over. It's ruined. Every time.
So we agree that they should have gone to Earth. So what did you think about the Skeletor in the whole, like, mind fuckery with Adam on Earth going through all of those scenes?
God, that was the dumbest thing ever. I was mad at people laughing in the theater, not because they were distracting, but because they thought that was funny. How was that even remotely funny? I mean, it's not even original. It's been done so many times.
And it was basically just callback jokes set up because they started the movie on Earth with characters that we should never have met and a story that we should never have learned anything about.
And they were making more jokes out of the jokes that already weren't funny.
Exactly. So you're making callback jokes to jokes that weren't funny.
Yeah. You know what? I'm getting kind of tired of talking about this.
I have to point out one thing that I did in terms of positives. I liked Dolph Lundgren's appearance in this movie. I actually almost genuinely laughed when he walked in and said, "You're in my spot, kid." And then they start to have a talk and he gives them some advice. And as he's walking away, he goes, "Good journey," which is the thing he said in his movie, in his He-Man movie. That was what his character would say. We don't say goodbye, we say good journey. I thought that scene was good because of him. The conversation was stupid. And again, trying to make Adam look like he doesn't know how to work out when obviously he does was bad. But his appearance was funny.
It was funny to you because you remember the movie.
Yes.
To anybody that doesn't remember the movie, that is one of the dumbest scenes because it does not make any sense.
Yeah, if you don't know that Dolph Lundgren played He-Man in that 1987 movie and that was his tagline, that scene would make you be like, they were like, why did they put why did Dolph Lundgren walk into this movie?
Right. So obviously I remember Dolph Lundgren was in it. I don't remember hardly anything about the movie. So when he said the line, I'm like, is that from the movie? Like, what is that? What is the point of that? What was that supposed to mean? I was actually happy when I was like, could you expand on that? Say a little more? Because I did not understand that either. And
so I thought it was a nice, but again, it was also a very quick scene. It wasn't dwelled on, but very quick scene and it's over. It was kind of dumb that they had, like, Dolph Lundgren gives him some generic advice and then Adam repeats that at the end in his, like, rallying speech to get everybody, the Attorney of Heroes, all pumped up, which didn't really
make sense.
It didn't really make sense or work or anything like that. But I did like that scene.
Well, can we end now? Because I'm
well, if we're gonna end, don't we have to stand, put our fists on our hips, look up at the sky, and laugh like we're in a cartoon? Because that's basically how the movie ends.
Yeah.
With basically all of the cartoon characters.
Mocking the cartoons.
No, I mean, literally, that was either mocking or an attempt to recreate literally a cartoon scene. And then the joke of, well, you gave all of us funny names. I bet you gave yourself a name. What was your name? He-Man. Which, again, if you don't know anything about Masters of the Universe, it kind of probably at least needed to be said, but could have done without the cartoonish montage before that where everyone
Yeah.
is hands on their hips laughing.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had a problem if they just did that and then let it go. But the fact they kept drawing it out for so long, like, I feel like they were like, hey, let's do this like the cartoon did it. That'll be funny. And then, like, they just decided to mock it more. Rather than tribute, it became a mockery.
Hmm.
And that's where it made me angry.
And then it flashes immediately. I forget what he says, but like Orko then like literally says like the moral of the story.
I liked that, actually.
Okay, was that kind of like his function in the animation?
I mean, that's how every show ended, was some sort of, and usually it was Orko, I believe, giving the moral of the story at the end.
Okay.
So that worked for me.
Okay.
Except for, who the fuck is this?
Exactly, a character we did not see the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which, again, maybe that could have been the Grogu of this movie. If that character was a part, then you could have had another toy tie-in.
Yep.
So I guess one last question for you before we do our final goodbye. It made a lot of sense to you. So the post-credit scene, was that She-Ra?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So how is that connected to the lore? Because I know the name She-Ra. I don't know who she is.
Yeah, she's basically the female He-Man.
Okay, is she related to him? Because
I
it was
don't
like the sorceress and the mom were talking, and they were saying, "I'd hoped that she would return as well." So I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking, was she like his sister or something, or just other family member? But they were clearly, I mean, lots of movies do this. It doesn't necessarily mean it will continue, but it seemed like they were setting up the possibility for a sequel
Yeah.
where she would be involved.
Well, and they also, like, the mid-credit scene, I think it was, when Evil Lynn picked up Skeletor's head and walked away with it, where, like, that's how he comes back. Like, she uses sorcery to bring him back to life using the Staff of Havoc and whatnot. And that's actually where the first season of Kevin Smith's, like, that's what that is.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot there. So I just looked it up. She-Ra is He-Man's long-lost twin sister.
Because that was kind of the impression that I was getting when the mom was talking to the sorceress, saying, "I hope that she would also return." I kind of, not knowing the lore, that's kind of what I thought. I didn't know it was his twin sister, but that it was his sister.
Yeah. Again, I don't really remember the original cartoons that much, other
Okay.
than a few specific things.
Just final thoughts here. So again, for me, I went into this movie pretty much with a blank slate, knowing very, very little. And lots of the movie, like we had just said going through this, if a lot of those just jokes, especially those weirdly inserted adult humor jokes, were taken out of the movie, and it's okay if it was a little, sometimes serious and sometimes less serious, but drop one or two of the tones. There was one or two more tones than there should have been, and then take out the unnecessary adult-oriented humor, and you can't get past the fact that there are other problems, like Adam/He-Man, but the action scenes were relatively good, and I think it might have been at least risen to being an okay movie.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just a bad movie for
Yeah.
me. What's your final thought?
Yeah, I think it was knocking on the door at being a good movie. It scratched the surface. It maybe turned the handle a few times of that door. Just couldn't get it to open.
Just couldn't get it to open.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I want to blame the jokes, but I don't think it was the jokes. I think it was they just couldn't decide what to do. I think because the movie was in development hell for 30 years, going back and forth, I think they were trying to piece together a script from multiple scripts and trying to please everybody, and ended up pleasing 3 people.
Well, not by the power of Raysdale, but by the power of ending this episode. Thank you very much for listening to The Fanboy and the Hater. Please check out our archives to listen to some of our past episodes, and stay tuned every Thursday for a brand new episode.